Carlos Martinez stood in the convenience store on Christmas Eve, counting his money one more time. $3.47. That was it. Everything he had in the world. His daughter Isabella was at home, 8 years old, waiting for him to bring back dinner. He promised her a real meal tonight, not just crackers and peanut butter, a real Christmas Eve dinner. With $3.47, he could buy a loaf of bread, a can of soup, and a small carton of milk. Total, $3.41. Enough for tonight, and maybe tomorrow morning. Carlos grabbed the items and headed to the register. That's when he saw the old man. 70s, disheveled, wearing a torn coat that had probably been expensive once, but was now just another homeless person's protection against the cold. The man was looking at the hot food counter, the pre-made sandwiches and soup containers, the kind of food that cost $5.99 but tasted like heaven when you were hungry. The old man pulled out a handful of change, counted it twice, put it back in his pocket. Not enough. He turned to leave. And Carlos made a decision that would change his life forever. "Excuse me, sir. Wait." The old man turned, suspicious, wary. "I saw you looking at the food. Are you hungry?" "I'm fine. Please, let me buy you something. A sandwich, some soup." "I don't need charity." "It's not charity. It's Christmas Eve. No one should be hungry on Christmas Eve." The old man studied Carlos, saw the worn jacket, the tired eyes, the basket with bread, cheap soup, and milk. "You don't look like you can afford to feed yourself, much less a stranger." "Maybe, but I'm going to anyway." Carlos put his 3 items back, grabbed a hot sandwich, a container of soup, and a bottle of water for the old man. Total, $8.47. He had $3.47. "I don't have enough," Carlos told the cashier. Can I pay for the sandwich and soup now and come back tomorrow for the water?" "Store policy says no." "It's fine." The old man's voice was quiet. "He doesn't need to buy me anything." "Yes, I do." Carlos looked the old man in the eyes. "Because my daughter is at home waiting for dinner, and she's warm, and she's safe. And you're out here in the cold. That's not right." Carlos turned back to the cashier. "Please, just the sandwich and soup. I'll figure out the rest." The cashier, touched by the exchange, rung up just the sandwich, $5.99. Carlos paid with his $3.47 and the 5 $1 bills he found crumpled in his pocket, money he'd forgotten he had. But that meant he had nothing left for Isabella's dinner. The old man took the sandwich with shaking hands. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Because someone did it for me once, when I first came to this country, and I promised myself I'd pay it forward." The old man watched Carlos leave the store empty-handed. What Carlos didn't know, that old man was William Harper, net worth $4.2 billion, owner of Harper Industries. And he'd been testing people all day, looking for one person, just one, who would help a stranger when they had nothing themselves. Because William Harper was dying, and he needed to know if there was still goodness in the world before he left it. Carlos had just passed a test he didn't know he was taking. And the miracle was about to begin.
Before we continue, if you enjoy stories that move and transform us, consider subscribing to Becca's Stories. We showcase the beautiful perspectives that emerge from life's changes, offering narratives of profound moral strength and unwavering character. Now, back to our story.
Earlier that day, William Harper's penthouse. William Harper sat in his oncologist's office, receiving news he'd expected but dreaded. 6 months. Maybe 8 if the treatment works. I'm sorry, William. 74 years old. Built a $4.2 billion empire from nothing. Forbes 50. Philanthropist. respected business leader, and dying of pancreatic cancer. I need to ask you something, doctor. Hypothetically, if you had 6 months to live and billions of dollars, what would you do with it? The doctor considered. Make sure it goes to the right people, people who would use it well. My son died 3 years ago. Car accident. I have no other family, no one to leave the company to. What about a foundation, charity? I've donated hundreds of millions to charity, but I don't know if it makes a real difference, if it changes people. He looked out the window at the city below. I want to know if there's still goodness in the world. Real goodness, not the kind you buy with donations. How do you find that? By testing people. By seeing what they do when no one's watching, when there's no reward. That's why William Harper spent Christmas Eve disguised as a homeless man, walking the streets of the city he'd built his empire in. He wanted to find one person, just one, who would help him when he had nothing, when there was no benefit to them, when they themselves were struggling. He'd been rejected by 12 people so far, until Carlos Martinez. That morning, Carlos's apartment. Carlos woke up to Isabella shaking him gently. "Papa, it's Christmas Eve. Are we going to have a real dinner tonight?" Carlos looked at his daughter, 8 years old, wearing pajamas that were too small because he couldn't afford new ones. His mother had died 2 years ago. Since then, it had been just the two of them. "Yes, mija, I promise. A real dinner." "With meat and vegetables?" "Yes, I'll make it work." But Carlos knew the math. He had $3.47. His next construction job didn't start until after New Year's. The church food bank was closed for the holiday. He'd have to figure something out. "Papa, can I tell you something?" "Always." "I don't need a big dinner. I just want to be with you. That's my real Christmas present." Carlos hugged his daughter, fighting back tears. How did he get so lucky to have a child this understanding, this kind? "I love you, mija." "I love you too, Papa. Even when we don't have much money, we still have each other. That's what Mama used to say." Your mama was right. After Isabella went to watch TV, Carlos counted his money again. $3.47. Enough for bread, soup, and milk. Not much, but enough. He could make it work.
When Carlos saw the old homeless man in the convenience store, something in his chest tightened, because Carlos remembered. 3 years ago, right after his wife Rosa died, Carlos had been lost, grief-stricken, barely functioning. He'd forgotten to buy groceries, had no food for Isabella. A stranger at a food bank had paid for his groceries, $27, refused to take Carlos's promise of repayment. "Pay it forward," the stranger had said. "When you can, help someone else." Carlos had never forgotten. So when he saw this old man looking at food he couldn't afford, Carlos didn't hesitate. Even though it meant he'd go home empty-handed, even though Isabella was waiting, even though he had nothing. "Let me buy you something." After Carlos left the store, William Harper sat on a bench outside, eating the sandwich slowly. He'd tested 12 people today, 12 people who'd walked past him, ignored him, or outright rejected his requests for help. Then Carlos, a man who clearly had nothing, had given everything. William pulled out his phone and called his attorney. "Michael, I found him." "Found who?" "The person I've been looking for, the one who passes the test." "William, what are you talking about?" "I'll explain later, but I need you to run a complete background check on someone. Name is Carlos Martinez, Hispanic male, early 40s, shops at the Quick Mart on 5th Street. "What are you planning?" "A miracle, Michael. I'm planning a Christmas miracle." That night, Carlos came home with nothing. Isabella looked at his empty hands. "Papa? Where's dinner?" I'm sorry, mija. I met someone who needed help. An old man. He was hungry. I gave him my money." Isabella was quiet. Then, "Did he get food?" "Yes." "Then you did the right thing, Papa. Mama always said helping people is more important than things." "But you're hungry." "I have crackers. And peanut butter. That's okay." Isabella smiled. "We can pretend it's a fancy Christmas meal. Like caviar and expensive cheese." Carlos started crying. His 8-year-old daughter comforting him because he'd giving away their dinner money. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry, Papa. You're a good person. That's better than having lots of money." They ate crackers and peanut butter for Christmas Eve dinner, and Carlos wondered if he'd made the right choice. Meanwhile, William Harper's investigation. William's attorney Michael worked through the night, compiling information on Carlos Martinez. The report was heartbreaking. Carlos Martinez, 42, Honduran immigrant, arrived in U.S. 15 years ago legally. Married Rosa Sanchez, also Honduran. Daughter Isabella, born in U.S. Rosa died 2 years ago from undiagnosed heart condition. Family couldn't afford regular health care. Carlos works construction, reliable, hardworking. References call him the most honest man I've ever employed. Currently between jobs due to seasonal layoffs. Lives in subsidized housing. Income, approximately $28,000 per year. No criminal record, no debts beyond normal living expenses. Active in church community, volunteers at food bank despite being client himself. Daughter Isabella, straight A student, loves reading, wants to be a teacher someday. Financial status, $3.47 in bank account as of yesterday. 0 savings, 0 assets. "And this man," William said, reading the report, "spent his last money buying me dinner." "What are you going to do?" Michael asked. "Change his life, and maybe find the legacy I've been looking for." Christmas morning, Carlos woke up to knocking on his door. He opened it to find a man in an expensive suit. Not the old homeless man, but someone who looked like a lawyer. "Mr. Martinez? I'm Michael Reynolds, attorney for William Harper. May I come in?" "I don't know any William Harper." "You met him yesterday at the Quick Mart. You bought him dinner." Carlos's eyes widened. "The old man? He's your client? May I come in?" Inside, Michael handed Carlos a card, embossed, expensive. "William Harper, CEO, Harper Industries." "I don't understand. He was homeless." "He wasn't. He was testing people. Looking for someone with true character, someone who would help a stranger with nothing to gain." "Testing people? That's cruel." "Perhaps, but necessary. Mr. Harper is dying. He has 6 months to live. He has no family, no heir. He needed to know if there was still goodness in the world. If there were still people who helped others simply because it's right." Why are you telling me this?" Michael smiled. "Because you passed his test, and he wants to meet with you. Today, if you're willing." "Why?" "To thank you, and to offer you something." "I don't want money. I saw someone hungry. I helped. That's all." "I know. That's exactly why Mr. Harper wants to meet you."
Carlos and Isabella sat in the lobby of Harper Industries headquarters, completely out of place. Carlos in his worn jacket, Isabella in her too small coat, both of them in the marble and glass palace of a billionaire. "Papa, why are we here?" Isabella whispered. "I don't know, mija, but the man I helped yesterday wants to meet us." They were escorted to the top floor, corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And there was the old man from the store, except he wasn't wearing a torn coat anymore. He was in an expensive cardigan and slacks, clean, distinguished. "Mr. Martinez, thank you for coming. William Harper stood, extending his hand. You're really a billionaire? I am. And you're really the man who spent his last $3 on a homeless stranger. I had more than $3. I found some bills in my pocket. My attorney told me, you had exactly $8.47 total. You spent $5.99 on me, left yourself with $2.48, not enough to feed your daughter. Carlos looked down. She ate crackers. She was fine. She wasn't fine. She was hungry, and you chose to feed me instead. William gestured to the chairs. Please, sit. After they sat, William pulled out a folder. I'm dying, Mr. Martinez. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe 8. I'm sorry. Don't be. I've lived a full life, built an empire, made billions. But 3 years ago, I lost my son in a car accident. Since then, I've been asking myself, what's the point? What good is all this wealth if I have no one to leave it to? No one who will use it well? I still don't understand why I'm here. Because I've been looking for someone. Someone with real character. Someone who helps others not for reward, but because it's right. I tested dozens of people. You were the only one who passed. What test? The only test that matters. What do you do when you have nothing and someone else needs help? Most people hoard what little they have. You gave it away. William opened the folder. I want to offer you something. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's a partnership. William slid papers across the desk. I'm creating a new division of Harper Industries, community development, building affordable housing, creating job training programs, providing resources for immigrant families. I want you to run it. Carlos stared. I'm a construction worker. I have no experience. You have the most important experience. You've lived it. You know what these communities need because you're part of them. I'm offering you $95,000 a year, full benefits, company housing, and a $100,000 signing bonus. Carlos couldn't breathe. $100,000? For agreeing to help me build something that matters, something that will outlive both of us. Why me? Because in the 6 months I have left, I want to build a legacy that means something. Not just another foundation with my name on it, something real, run by someone who actually cares, someone who proved they'd give their last dollar to a stranger. Isabella tugged Carlos's sleeve. Papa, is this real? William smiled at the little girl. It's real. And Isabella, I have something for you too. He pulled out another document. Full scholarship. Any college you want to attend, all expenses paid. Because your father taught me that the best investment isn't in buildings or stocks. It's in good people. Why? Carlos's voice broke. Why are you doing this? Because you restored my faith in humanity. Because you showed me that goodness still exists. Because I want my last act on this earth to be helping someone who deserves it. Plus, my son would have done the same thing you did. He was kind like that, and I want to honor his memory by rewarding that kindness in you.
6 months later, Carlos stood in the office William had given him modest but professional reviewing plans for the new community center. The Harper Community Development Initiative had launched 3 affordable housing projects, created job training for 200 people, and established a free healthcare clinic. And Carlos was running it all. Down the hall, William Harper was in his office, thinner now, weaker. The cancer was winning. But he was smiling. How's the Highland Park project? William asked when Carlos came in for their daily meeting. Breaking ground next week. 50 units of affordable housing, rent capped at 30% of income. Good. And the job training. We've placed 87 people in permanent jobs, including 12 immigrant families. Excellent. William coughed, a harsh sound. Carlos, I need to tell you something. You should rest. I'll rest when I'm dead, which is soon. William smiled at the dark humor. I updated my will. William, let me finish. You've done more in 6 months than I accomplished in 40 years of philanthropy. Because you understand these communities. Because you care. Because you are not doing it for tax breaks or publicity. You're doing it because it's right. I'm just trying to help people like me. Exactly. That's why I'm leaving you 20% of Harper Industries. Approximately $800 million. Carlos dropped the folder he was holding. $800 million? You'll use it well. Better than my competitors would. Better than some distant relative who never knew me. You'll build housing, create jobs, help immigrants, change lives. I can't accept. Yes, you can, because I'm not asking. I'm telling you, this is my legacy. You are my legacy. The man who spent his last dollar on a homeless stranger. The man who proved that character isn't about how much you have. It's about what you do with it. What about the company? Your board will fight this. Let them. Michael's already handled the legal work. It's ironclad. When I die, which will be soon, you inherit 20% of the company and full control of the Community Development Division. The rest goes to various charities and the Harper Foundation. Why 20%? Why not just give me the Community Development Division? Because I want you to have power, real power. Enough to force the board to listen. Enough to make real changes. You can't help people without resources. Now you'll have both. Carlos sat down, overwhelmed. I gave you a sandwich. That's all. A $5.99 sandwich. No. You gave me hope. You showed me that kindness still exists, that people still help each other. That's worth more than any amount of money. William coughed again, harder. Promise me something. Anything. When I'm gone, when you have all this money, don't lose what makes you special. Don't forget what it was like to count your last $3. Don't stop seeing the people everyone else ignores. I won't. I promise. Good. Because the world needs more people like you. People who give when they have nothing. People who see strangers as neighbors. People who understand that wealth isn't about what you keep. It's about what you give away.
William Harper died 4 weeks after that conversation. His funeral was attended by hundreds of business leaders, politicians, and society figures. But Carlos gave the eulogy. I met William Harper on Christmas Eve. I didn't know he was a billionaire. I thought he was a homeless man who needed food. So I bought him dinner with my last $8. What I didn't know was that he was testing me, looking for one person who would help a stranger with nothing to gain. I passed that test, not because I'm special, but because someone once helped me when I had nothing, and I promised to pay it forward. William changed my life. He gave me a job, a home, resources to help my community. But more than that, he gave me purpose. He showed me that one act of kindness can ripple forward in ways we can't imagine. So I'm going to spend the rest of my life honoring his legacy, building housing, creating jobs, helping immigrants like me who are just trying to survive. Not because I'm rich now, but because I remember what it's like to be poor, and I'll never forget. 1 year after William's death, Carlos stood in the new Highland Park Community Center, a beautiful building with classrooms, a health clinic, job training facilities, and affordable housing above. The plaque outside read, William Harper Community Center, built on the principle that true wealth is measured not by what we keep, but by what we give away. Inside, Isabella, now 9 years old, was teaching a reading class to younger children. Volunteer work she insisted on doing after school. She's just like you, Michael Reynolds, William's former attorney and now Carlos's advisor said, wants to help people. She learned it from her mother, and from that stranger at the food bank who helped us, and from William. William would be proud. You've built something extraordinary. We've helped 500 families so far, But that's just the beginning. What's next? I want to expand. 10 more cities, 20, 100. I want every immigrant family to have what William gave me, a chance, a real chance. That's a big dream. William taught me to dream big, and he gave me the resources to make it happen. That evening, Carlos and Isabella ate dinner in their new apartment. Modest but comfortable, nothing extravagant. Carlos could afford a mansion now, but he chose to live simply. "Papa, why don't we live in a big house? You have lots of money now." "Because we don't need a big house, mija. We need enough. And the rest of the money should go to people who need it more." "Like you helped that old man, Mr. William?" "Exactly like that." "I'm glad you helped him, Papa, even though we were hungry that night." "Me too, mija. Me too." Later, after Isabella was asleep, Carlos sat alone, looking at a photo on his desk. Not of William, of Rosa, his late wife. "I did it," he whispered to her. "I kept my promise. I'm helping people. I'm making you proud." He'd started with $3.47 and given it all away. And in return, he'd received a miracle. Not because he deserved it, not because he'd earned it, but because one dying billionaire wanted to know if goodness still existed in the world. And Carlos had shown him it did. That was the real miracle. Not the money, not the inheritance, not the job. The miracle was that kindness still mattered, that generosity still counted, that helping a stranger could change everything. Carlos had spent his last dollar on someone who needed it, and the universe had repaid him 1,000,000,000 times over. Not because life is fair, but because sometimes, just sometimes, doing the right thing leads to something beautiful. And that's the closest thing to a miracle we get. An immigrant dad stood in a convenience store with $3.47 to his name. His daughter was home, hungry, waiting for dinner. And he saw a homeless stranger looking at food he couldn't afford. Carlos had a choice: feed his daughter or help a stranger. He chose the stranger. Gave away his last money, went home empty-handed, ate crackers for Christmas Eve dinner. What he didn't know, that stranger was a dying billionaire testing humanity, looking for one person who would help when they had nothing to gain. Carlos passed a test he didn't know he was taking and inherited $800 million. Not as a reward, as a responsibility. Because William Harper understood that something most wealthy people forget, that character isn't revealed when you have everything, it's revealed when you have nothing. Carlos had nothing, and he gave it away anyway. That's the kind of person who should have wealth, because they'll use it right. This holiday season, maybe you're like Carlos, struggling, counting every dollar, wondering if kindness is a luxury you can't afford. Remember, generosity isn't about how much you have, it's about what you do with it. Carlos had $3, and he changed the world. Or maybe you're like William, wealthy, comfortable, wondering if goodness still exists. Remember, the best people aren't always easy to find. Sometimes they're disguised as poor immigrants in convenience stores. Sometimes you have to test humanity to find it. But it's there, waiting, in people who give when they have nothing. That's the miracle. Not that Carlos got rich, but that he stayed generous even when he was poor. That's what William saw. That's what he rewarded. And that's what we should all aspire to, being the person who helps when we have nothing. Because you never know when a stranger is really an angel in disguise. or a billionaire looking for hope, or just someone who needs kindness more than they need food. Give anyway. Help anyway. Be generous anyway. That's how miracles happen.
Thank you for watching this story. If it moved you, leave a heart in the comments and share what you thought. Let us know what themes or stories you'd like to hear next. We love creating narratives that resonate with you. Subscribe to Becca's Stories for more tales of justice, legacy, resilience, and love. We showcase the beautiful perspectives that emerge from life's changes, offering narratives of profound moral strength and unwavering character. And remember, wealth isn't measured by what you keep. It's measured by what you give away, even when you have nothing, especially when you have nothing. See you in the next story.